everyone, welcome back to another Monday makeup lesson. Today we're going to be comparing stippling versus buffing your foundation into your skin. I want to go through the pros and cons of each one and help you guys figure out which is the best one for your skin type and also the results that you want to achieve. So let's get started. The last couple of weeks we've been talking about how to hold the brushes and also how to pick up the product on the brush correctly, which I will link up here and also in the description box. So I'm going to be using an F20 for this, which is a flat topped kabuki, even though I actually prefer a rounder top brush when it comes to buffing, but this one works out great too. And it's so soft. So we're going to start off with the stippling technique. You're going to hold the brush in the center of the handle, pick up a little bit of the product to make sure you're only coating the tips, and then you're going to basically bounce this off and on the skin in sort of like a woodpecker motion. That's why it's really important to use a flat brush for this and something with a lot of bristles and quite dense to make sure that we're getting those little tiny dots that are going to build up over time and give us full coverage. It's a pretty easy technique to master, but there are some pros and cons to using it. So a couple of pros is it's great for giving full coverage and it's going to look amazing in photographs for that reason. And it works on pretty much every skin type out there. The only cons is that it does take a little bit of time. You have to really just bounce it off and on the skin over and over and over again. And also it can bring out any unwanted texture in your skin. So if you have large pores, it may not be the best one for you. Now buffing is actually a very different technique, but it starts off the same. You're going to hold the brush in exactly the same place on the handle, pick up the product in exactly the same way, make sure you're only coating the tips. You also want to make sure there's not too much product on the brush when you're doing both techniques, but in particular when you are doing a buffing technique. And then what you want to do is small little circular motions working over the skin. The smaller you do the motions, the more coverage you're going to get, and then the slightly larger ones are going to give you more of a sheerer finish. And there's pros and cons to using the buffing technique as well, and there's quite a lot of cons actually. But the pros are it's really quick and simple to do. It looks very even and natural, and it just gives you a nice sheer wash of color. And you can also adapt the coverage depending on the brush you use. So the larger the brush, the sheerer the coverage, the smaller the brush, the more coverage. So you can kind of adapt it to whatever works for you. However, there's quite a few cons when it comes to using the buffing technique. First up, it doesn't work on all skin types. If you have sensitive skin, acne prone skin, any hairs on your skin that you feel embarrassed about, but trust me, everybody does, so don't worry about it. And also if you have any dry patches on your skin, the buffing technique will almost exfoliate and buff those up. So you're going to end up with like little flakes on your skin. So for all of those skin types, you're going to want to choose stippling. But for everybody else, you can definitely get away with the buffing technique. I particularly like the buffing technique on anyone who has large pores because it kind of buffs over the top of them and gives them a smoother finish. Whereas I find the stippling technique sits within those little pores. Also, it doesn't give the same amount of coverage when it comes to photographs. On camera and actually filming, it looks pretty good. But when it comes to flash photography or getting that foundation to kind of show up, particularly if you want to do a contoured look on top of it, you're going to want to choose the stippling technique instead. It gives a much smoother base when it comes to flash photography. So that's stippling versus buffing. Personally, I like a mixture of the two of them combined. I think they work really well together. And leave a comment here, let me know if there's any other techniques you'd like me to compare, and I will see you guys in a video on Friday. Bye guys.